Black Lives Matter founder Patrisse Cullors is furious with President Biden and other top Democrats for trying to distance the party from the defund the police movement. She says, quote, "There has been deep cowardice from officials. The people who hold the power have chosen not to wield it on behalf of Black life. They've chosen to side with violent police forces. That comes as Congress tries to give police reform another shot. Congressman Jim Clyburn is urging his fellow Democrats to compromise this time so that they can actually get something done." All right, Jesse, you know, when you've got Congressman Jim Clyburn, okay, who's urging the Dems to give some ground, saying basically that, you know, if you can't get a perfect piece of legislation, let's try for a good piece.
Yeah.
Is that a starter?
Not for me. I don't want police reform. I think the police are doing a great job. I see some of these things they're trying to do, banning chokeholds. Sometimes you need to get the arm around the neck to subdue the guy. And now people are afraid to even go near the neck, and bad things can happen. The no-knock warrants, I don't know enough about it, but I do know what it's going to do if they do it. They're just going to, instead of no knocking, they're going to go knock, boom, and hit the battering ram. The immunity thing, so then you can get sued for millions of dollars for something that happens on the job. Yeah. No other union has that. Teachers' unions don't have that. Why do police have that? I don't like that they're getting singled out. Right. And Joe Biden probably likes the fact that some Black Lives Matter thief, a lot of money, is telling him you're a bad guy for not defunding the police. That makes Joe Biden look good.
Okay, you're nodding your head, Greg.
Absolutely right. If you want to look less like an idiot, when an idiot turns on you, that helps. Yeah. And the White House must love this news. BLM took millions and millions of dollars from people and offered nothing in return, right? They're BLDM, Black Lives Don't Matter, because they would have done something. But the good news is, I think most of the money came from gullible white liberals, not blacks. I think hardworking blacks would never give their money to an organization this loose and this weird. I think it was never really about helping black people. It was about, and this is brilliant, I wish I thought of this, it was about monetizing white liberal virtue signaling. It's a smart business model. And they just took that money. I'm now beginning to admire this person for being so in your face about swindling all these guilty white liberals.
It's like the mob. You can't go out and buy a fur coat after the shit.
They did.
That's the thing. They messed up.
Yeah,
Lay low.
Exactly.
And that's exactly, Dana, what Patrisse Cullors did. She went out and bought a $6 million mansion. She gave, you know, what, several $100,000 jobs to, I think one was her brother, and then it was her, I think, her baby's father. And, you know, why? But let me ask you this. Why, if the inner city blacks and brown people, 80%, want more police, why aren't they uniting and saying, bring this money back? These people are frauds.
It's an excellent question. And, we do these stories every Monday morning. You can do a story about how terrible the weekend was in Chicago and all the people that were either injured in shootings or were killed. Many of them are African-American or Hispanic. And I think that look, I'm not in their shoes, obviously. But I do wonder if they just feel beaten down, overwhelmed, and they're just trying to survive day to day. And it's up to the leadership to do something more. So you have Mayor Lightfoot, who is running for re-election and is not promising any change. And then you had, even in Philly, there was a recall of the prosecutor, got re-elected. Same thing in California. So I don't know where that change is going to come from. Now, Democrats have painted themselves into a bit of a corner, especially when it comes to Congress on police reform. Last year, Republicans went pretty far down the table to try to do a negotiation run by Senator Tim Scott. Cory Booker of New Jersey was on the Democratic side. Apparently, those two have a very good relationship. But the left just wanted so much more. And so they're preventing any progress from happening. And Jim Clyburn, I think, is trying to be the elder statesman that says, we can be smarter about this, both from a substantive standpoint and from a political standpoint, but the left won't let it happen. They're going to keep doing this to them. So then all the Republicans can say, the Democrats want to defund the police.
And in the end, Jessica, I mean, what you've got are, you've got the same scenario with, and what Jesse pointed out to was the qualified immunity. You can't take that away from a police officer. You just can't.
These conversations, which I think is part of the problem, only happen in earnest after some extreme tragedy, right? A George Floyd or a Tyree Nichols or Laquan McDonald. And I hope that Tim Scott and Cory Booker, who do have this great relationship, can continue with this and that they can work the margins to the point that the defund the police side of things and the people on the right who are not interested in any compromises are rendered irrelevant. And the numbers can work out that way. I mean, the margins are so slim, and George Santos, you know, who knows where he'll be next week. So I think that that's possible. What Black Lives Matter, the organization, did is such a betrayal of the movement. It's pretty horrifying. So Black Lives Matter is a philosophy, right? It's not a group. It's not necessarily something that you should be giving $5 to, $10 to. It's an idea that Black lives should matter equally to white lives and to blue lives. And the corruption of that message has set the movement back so far that people who just want to say there's nothing wrong with the police can point to this and say, you have con artists running the most important organization for this. And you're right, it was mostly white people. And I would say really well-intentioned white people who saw what happened to George Floyd.
Well-intentioned white people.
I'm sitting right here. They saw what happened to George Floyd and said, what can I do? And they saw an organization with the name of the thing that they believe. And it's really just, it's so fundamentally messed up because there are great organizations that do good work for protecting minority lives, for any cause that you can find out there. You need to do more research. And they took advantage of the fact that people would be so upset that there would be this frenzied giving. And I really hate that. And they also amplified the defund the police as if it was the policy position of the party, and it wasn't.
And they never said, can we have our money back? You're not doing with it what you said. And those white people are, what would you call them?
I don't know, but I love the idea of well-intentioned white people ruining everything.
Yeah.
That should be a book. Should be a book.
All right.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.